Hello everyone, welcome back to the Bat Chat. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Steve Max.
Today, Steve and I are talking about episode 7 of the second volume of Batman the Animated Series. It's Night of the Ninja, which is an episode that I remembered a little bit, but had only seen like maybe once or twice. You know what I remember about this episode, Steve, before I watched it again for this?
What's that?
Bruce Wayne and the Ninja constantly walking around each other with that, like, almost TOS-esque fight music. That's what I remembered about it.
Oh, really? This was one of those that I had on VHS, just like Robin's Reckoning, so I know this one really well for dumb reasons.
Oh, wow, okay, awesome. So anyway, Night of the Ninja, obviously Ninja's often a big part of Batman and his backstory, and this episode is notable for having some flashback and Bruce Wayne background, and I don't think we'd had much of, if any of that stuff prior to this, besides Mask of the Phantasm, if it had come out yet.
Yeah, I think it was out at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, aside from that, we haven't really had Batman backstory. This is the catalyst for most of that.
So anyway, we're going to, as we always do, watch the episode and talk about it. And if you would like to watch it right along with us, get your DVDs, go to Amazon Prime, however you want to watch it, rig it up to timestamp 0. Make sure you're watching Night of the Ninja, because if you watch some other episode, this will be a much different experience. And if you don't want to listen to it with us, and you know this episode pretty well, and you just want to listen to it as a podcast, we'll do our level best to provide a little bit of context for you while we were talking about it. Let's get right into it, shall we? Everybody, please press play right now.
All right. Classic intro, too.
Yeah, I'm watching on disc today, so that was predictable.
See,
I kind of knew that was going to happen. Have you noticed that, though, that with Amazon, it seems like nearly every episode on this volume has been the original intro, so...
Yeah, I haven't seen the Superman Batman one in a while.
Does it make you wonder if maybe they only did that with the first season?
They might have, which is dumb, but they might have. Because I didn't
it's dumb that it's on that
two
season.
shows together, so maybe they just never got past Hollywood when they were doing that.
But it's dumb that they left it that way on the first. It's not dumb if it's this way for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Of course, then you got to wonder what 3 is going to look like, because in 3 they have that Batman and Robin intro.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So that'll be interesting. Speaking of Robin, he's in this episode.
Yes.
Which when I was a kid and Robin would show up, I wouldn't be all that surprised, because for whatever reason, the Robin episodes seemed to come up more often when I was watching it on TV. But watching it in order, every time Robin shows up, I'm like, oh yeah, Robin's in this show.
Yeah, he doesn't do a lot in this particular episode except make wisecracks, which is fun and entertaining enough.
It seems like he's primarily here so that there's somebody that we can follow that sees this kind of mystery of something is wrong with Bruce Wayne. What is it? And I suppose we could have just made that Alfred.
Yeah, we could have even made it
sure
Summer.
Why he has to be here, except for the fact I maybe they feel the need to have Robin in here because he's Bruce Wayne's protege, and Bruce has taught him what he learned from back when he fought this guy.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe that's what it is, because they do open this once we see Bruce and Dick with their training.
Yeah, they do. And we did just get the Robin origin, so maybe they're just trying to utilize that relationship a bit more than they did in Volume 1.
I mean, it's hard not to compare them when you watch this, because it seems like no matter what the situation is, Batman just doesn't want to let Dick be Robin and go help him with anything, right? It's like, either it's because you're too close to the situation, or because I am.
Yeah, I think the last time, the most they've ever really paired up is when we get Riddler.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from that, they're always kind of just bickering.
The Christmas episode.
Oh yeah, the Christmas episode. They were
toward the beginning. Yeah. Which made you kind of wish there were more of those, because that was really fun. I mean, Robin needs to be... Sometimes I feel like Robin should be around more often just to give Batman somebody to talk to, and then other times I really like him better as a solo act, especially in this continuity, because he really does feel like that kind of a loner.
Well, I always liked having Robin in this show particularly just because it provided a really cool visual contrast. Like, the way how dark this show is, it's just cool to have Robin complimenting Batman wherever they go. It's always a nice aesthetic.
So this guy is supposed to be super menacing because he can cut up a flashlight, and the the battery fell out. It's unusual, I just thought of this, to get to see a crime scene like we're going to see here in a little bit, where you have detectives scouring a crime scene, and we actually saw the crime scene come together in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think we get a lot of that.
A lot of the time and I just mean in TV stuff in general, like a lot of the time you'll open something with, here's a crime scene.
Yeah, and if we go back, it's always just a recreation after we understood what happened.
Yeah, or flashback.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting. So this is a really strange episode because it's not particularly great, but it's the one where all the continuity stuff comes from. Kyodai Ken has 2 appearances in the series, and the second episode.
Oh, is it this again?
Yeah, she shows up in an episode called Day of the Samurai.
I forgot all about that. That's starting to ring bells now that you say it, but I forgot all about that.
And they play it like it's a parallel, because this is Night of the Ninja, that's Day of the Samurai.
Interesting.
And then there's
it's like DS9's. It's like DS9's for the uniform and for the whatever the other for the episode was, but they're connected anyway.
Yeah. And in that one he learns like a death touch, and it's actually a sort of a closure to what happens on this episode. But there's also another episode, a Zatanna episode, where we figure out that Bruce Wayne was training with her father before he goes to Japan.
Oh. Interesting.
It's kind of bizarre. You can map out their whole journey just based on this episode, and I have no idea why they made this the center for all that.
I don't either. I gotta be honest with you, it feels a little generic, yeah?
Oh yeah, it totally is. It could have been amazing, though, and that's, I guess, my big complaint with it rewatching it. Because the contrast between samurais and ninjas are already fascinating, and Batman already plays up that kind of equalizing factor in Gotham. And if he operates both as a ninja and a samurai, if you think about the way those two parties are traditionally used, and if you played up more of that comparison, this episode could have been amazing.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, he utilizes all kinds of different traditions.
Yeah, but I just mean...
blends them all together.
Yeah, but I just mean samurais being part of the noble established status quo, and ninjas being marginalized actors outside of it.
Right, because he's a dark detective, and so he'll use that darker, scarier side.
Yeah, exactly.
For intimidation. And if it was just samurai, it would be such an honor thing, there'd be no intimidation to it.
Yeah, exactly. Batman's got the no-kill rule, but that's not the same thing as a samurai bushido. And yet he feels like he's superior to the ninja, which is interesting.
That is really interesting.
Like, there's a whole argument you could have made between those two characters, and they never go there.
And you could say, well, it's a cartoon, but I mean, like, this show gets that sophisticated in places.
Yeah, I mean,
or at least gets close.
We talked about Robin's Reckoning. I mean, there's lots of episodes that do that.
It's weird going back to this show after a lot of other Batman things have come out and really, good and also sort of that's a cool transition. Good sort of, darker Batman things where you watch this and you just want him to be with the League of Assassins or the League of Shadows. Like, it's hard not to think, or at the very least, and I guess this has nothing to do with that stuff, but at the very least you want Shiva to be involved or something, right? I mean, like, Like, it just feels kind of weird that you have these random characters that we invented to do a thing that we already had, like, pretty classic and arguably some of them iconic characters now that filled these roles in Batman's backstory.
Yeah, and they don't introduce Ra's al Ghul for a while, but this might have been an opportune place to set that stuff up.
And that's what I was going to get at. Yeah, and that makes me wonder if they just hadn't decided to do that yet, or if they were, like, trying to seed it slowly, where it's like maybe this is the first place he went, and then later he went to those other kinds of places. Yeah,
that could have been interesting. Although the whole Batman working with the League of Shadows or League of Assassins thing wasn't a thing until Batman Begins. So they would have been a little bit ahead of their time if they did that.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm saying that. Like when I say that, that's lacking historical perspective. You can't expect that because they made that up for that movie.
Although now that you say that, they totally should have had Ducard in this series because he was already a character in the comics, and he was based on a writer from the '89 movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Sam Hamm, who wrote Batman '89, wrote I forget what the book is called, but he wrote and created that character.
So this came out in somewhere around 93, 94, and I guess probably 93. And The Tick was only a couple years after this. The cartoon show. The first arc of the Tick comics of the 80s is called A Night of a Million Zillion Ninjas. And it's difficult not to watch this and not think about that because this ninja looks a lot like the ninjas in that.
That's cool. Although, to be fair, he's got like a filler ninja costume. There's nothing particularly unique about it.
There wasn't those either. That's so here's the first of, I want to say, 3. Why I like how Batman, by the way, gets to a metal thing on the roof, and he's gotta walk around it. He's like no, and he walks around it. But I don't know, like they play this up for so much dramatic tension. There's something really funny about it to me.
Oh yeah, no, it's hilarious. And the first time I saw it, I did crack up when the ninja just pulled out a gas gun. Like, Batman wouldn't see that coming.
He never saw that coming.
And, I mean, the animation isn't great in this episode, so he moves really slowly. Like, you would think this is one of the episodes that would stand out, but it really doesn't.
You'd really want your top animation team on this particular episode, since you've got a ninja that's supposed to be, stealthy and in the shadows and move fast. And this has some of the goofiest facial expressions in the entire show so far, Steve.
Oh.
And I already pointed out earlier, just visually, if you're watching the thing earlier where Dick Grayson's standing behind Bruce, he's like, Arr. But then there's even a place, right before we get to the flashback where Bruce just I think it's just because of how it's shot, he closes his eyes and it just looks hilarious. It's like right up in your face. He's like, and then later on there's a couple places that get really silly. Batman likes to overreact to things just facially in the show. And he does it no fewer than twice in this episode where something will surprise him.
He's just playing the William Shatner game.
But yes, the animation is not particularly stellar in this episode.
No, it's not. Even some field depth stuff just doesn't look right. Like when you get a close up of the sword and it just looks like a dagger.
That city shot we just saw looks almost like matte painting-ish, like bad matte painting-ish, where it's like it does, like you said, the depth of field. It just doesn't even look like it goes back very far.
No, yeah,
it's almost,
that's just the problem.
It's like cardboard there. Yeah, I said matte paint. It's like there's a big piece of paint. It's like they're on a stage.
Yeah.
Make it Batman.
It's also kind of a weird color palette. Like, it just looks so dull compared to the rest of the series. Like, I don't know what it is. It just feels like a boring episode.
You've got to give them that it's cool to finally bring in some newspaper stuff. Or not newspaper stuff, but press stuff. Because we haven't done hardly any of that in this show.
Yeah, that's true. I never really particularly liked Summer, but at least she gets some stuff to do here.
See, she just let the editor's office. I thought she was a TV news reporter.
She gets that job later. When we go to the new Batman Adventures.
It's just on TV, or was she just trying to get interviews? Is that what it was?
She's just trying to get interviews here. When we get to New Adventures of Batman and we meet Jack Ryder, she becomes a TV host then. And then she's on TV here and there later. It's kind of inconsistent because she's both a field reporter and a TV anchor throughout the series.
Yeah, news media is always a big thing in superhero things for obvious reasons, and we haven't seen a lot of it yet in this. Considering that this was loosely based on '89, it's kind of weird that we hadn't gone there much yet.
I'm still perplexed by why didn't they just make her Vicky Vale?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Why does it have to be Summer Gleason?
Why? Yeah. Was Summer Gleason a comic character?
She's not. She's referenced in No Man's Land at one point, but she doesn't show up anywhere else really.
But she's made up for the show.
And she looks exactly like Vicky Vale anyway.
So this show has that in spades with even its subplots, right? Yeah. He's like, she should be Vicky Vale, the sensei should be any number of people.
Yeah, the sensei can just be Ducard. You can make Kyodai Ken basically any samurai bad guy in the Batman universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of odd. I'm not sure why they made this character and why they felt the need to give him a second episode.
Well, maybe it's just it's a big deal to have background for a character that's this mysterious, so you feel like you have to follow it up.
Perhaps, but I mean, they've done
a
stuff here and there. Like the Zatanna's episode is pretty much all we needed after that.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, they don't actually do that here because then he stops him. That's right.
I do really like the character model for young Bruce Wayne, though. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, and I like the choice Kevin Conroy's making here to speak in a higher pitched tone.
Yeah.
So he sounds a little younger.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Unless
the guy doing Kanakin or whatever his name is, his voice is a little silly. I think it sounds a little bit typical. Somebody's trying to do a Japanese accent.
Yeah, he's voiced by basically just a filler guy that does a lot of stuff for the DC animated universe. Like he's had cameos in other shows here and there, but he's not really a massive actor for this.
Once again, weird facial expression. His Summer Gleason standing behind that door, he's like, such a weird look. What are we doing with the facial expressions in this episode? So what do you think of the villain motivation in this one, and dealing with the contrast of the playboy versus the vigilante thing?
I think it comes in way too late. I really like Kyodai Ken's speech by the end of the episode where he's talking about not knowing.
There it is! There it is! Oh my god!
Oh, that's
like, you're
awesome.
Batman, do something, dude! Like, you'd think you'd be more prepared for it. Like, I get that he's catching him off guard, because it's his past combat Hanama and all that, but that's hard to buy. Sorry, I asked you a question. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I really like the speech Kyodai Ken gives at the end of the episode, when he's kind of annoyed with the way Bruce Wayne might have wasted his training because he doesn't know he's Batman. And I love that they use some of the ninja mythology there, because if you just look into the basics, you get kind of a bad reputation for ninjas. You think that they're just assassins, that are just hired guns, but there's a whole history of socioeconomic problems that created ninjas in the first place. And so that character, being as angry as he is at Bruce Wayne and kind of representing what the samurai did back in the day, I think that's all really cool. But it happens way too late in the episode. That stuff has to be set up. And the flashbacks don't do anything to give that a lot of credence aside from him wanting to steal the sword.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like he's just generically jealous. You know, it's like you've got money, I don't. It's like, but how bad off were you? We need some explanation that he was like really poor in the first place. All you needed really in the flashbacks was maybe a conversation with Bruce and his sensei about this guy, where Bruce is maybe like really angry about the whole situation, and the guy's like, well, I understand why you're upset, but you should be more sympathetic because here's his lot in life, and it comes from a place. That's all you had to do, and then the sensei character would have more of a reason to exist.
Yeah, I mean, you could even throw the sensei under the bus a little bit and say that he treated Bruce Wayne a little bit better, and that's part of the jealousy.
That's that's great.
And then easily he could have just the ninja just could have read it as, well, clearly because he's white and he has more money, he's automatically going to get better treatment than me, and that makes the whole vendetta a lot more personal.
He's doing that cliche thing where he's got to explain his whole plot. Yeah. But this is one of those characters where, because it's a revenge thing, you sometimes can give that a pass because that character would want the person they're trying to get revenge on to know what they're doing.
Yeah, although I'm confused as to why he captured Vicky or Summer. Like, he could have just killed her earlier. I don't know what that's about.
Vicky Gleason.
Yeah, Vicky Gleason.
Somervale.
If I ever write a comic, that's actually going to become a character.
You're going to put Somervale in there, yeah. I think this was, we just had to get somebody in there so that Bruce had to pretend like he was the, playboy who didn't continue to train afterwards, so that this guy would feel vindicated, and then have a big surprise at the end. But boy, that breaks down real hard here in a second. It's goofy.
Oh yeah. I mean, you even could have used Robin to some degree to show the difference between those two characters, and they just don't do a lot with any of those relationships.
No, there's really not a lot of substance to this whole thing.
And again, it's just a matter of, like, it could have been handled so much better so easily. It's a lot like those earlier episodes. I
don't think it's a bad episode. I think the overall atmosphere is pretty cool. But again, if we were giving, if we had a little more care on the animation, that would come across better.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of dull. It's not bad, but it's just kind of dull.
You really don't want to be on a roof when you're a superhero and there's a water tower.
Yeah.
Just don't be around those. If you on a roof with a supervillain, especially in Spider-Man things, but even in Batman, just don't even do that. Don't be anywhere near that.
It's also kind of funny how Robin just walked into the trap earlier.
Yeah, he should have been able to see that. And here's Bruce Wayne doing his impression of a seal. That's been beached. A beached seal. I guess seals beach themselves because they don't have to stay in the water. I'm just saying. A seal that's on the beach. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a very goofy episode.
So I love how Robin's, and this is so funny too because this guy has just proven how resourcefully. Here's this again. I don't know why I described it. You've got this ninja who's just shown how resourceful he is with the water tower deal, and then Robin is going to follow that up with his amazing in the moment plan, which is drop a carpet on a girl. It's like, I was trained by Batman. You're better, you know? Like, no. I mean, I think that the episode does a decent job of making these guys kind of equally matched and making us, or like, making us buy that they were evenly matched at one point and that this guy thinks he's the greatest because he's never tangled with Batman before.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea instantly of there is a guy out there that's mastered a particular form of combat better than Batman. Like the whole idea of Batman's a master of everything could also just prove that he's not an expert in one particular thing.
And they're mirrors for each other in the sense that Batman does what he does for precisely the opposite reasons that this guy does. This guy is completely all about himself and his own, trying to improve his own lot in life, or at the least trying to make other people pay for the fact that he's not where he wishes he was.
Yeah.
And Batman is about, again, the opposite of that.
Yeah. And again, that's just a easy contrast they could have made with just a couple more lines in the flashbacks, potentially.
But I think that one's inherent. I mean, I think that's kind of okay. Where it's like, this guy's talking about, like, he squandered his money, he squandered his training, and he has no idea that, Bruce Wayne's this really rich guy, and he uses all his resources to help people. Whether you want to look at that as somewhat of a selfish thing or not in this self-serving thing, in looking at the psychology of Batman and the death of his parents and why he does what and the obsession versus the altruism, that's always a thing with Batman.
Right.
But getting past that, like, if this guy only knew, and also keep in mind that they make a big deal in this episode that this is not the straight-up Playboy Bruce Wayne, this is the Bruce Wayne that is, like, the charitable foundation Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, this is philanthropist Bruce Wayne.
Who in his personal life is doing maybe as much or more good for the city than Batman does.
Yeah.
You could make the argument.
Oh yeah, he's definitely more business conscious than other versions of the character.
So he throws the carpet on the girl, and then I guess he's modulated his voice enough that she doesn't think, oh, Bruce Wayne's still fighting this guy?
See, now it just makes me wonder, do you think it would have worked better if Kiyotake had figured out that Bruce Wayne was Batman in this episode?
I think it would just automatically make it a more interesting... It would make you want to see him again more.
Yeah, probably so. I don't remember if he knows who Bruce Wayne is in the second episode. It's been too long.
I thought that's what it ultimately was about, was that he'd figured it out, or he figures it out in that... But it's, again, I forgot it even existed until you brought it up. Oh, yeah!
I don't remember. I just know that episode has, like, a death touch thing that...
oh, yeah, that's...
we get in the New 52 later.
You remember that? And that was really silly.
Yes.
Yeah. But, oh man, like, villains, this show felt the need to bring back that guy, Hardak, right?
Yeah, I never liked the Hardak episodes.
Me neither. And they had to come back, the second time I want to say with the two, or was the first one a two-parter?
The first one's a two-parter.
One of those is a two-parter, and I was always like,
the first
why?
one's a two-parter. It's a Heart of Steel Part 1 and Part 2.
That's right. Well, anyway, I'm sorry, I talked a lot. Were there other things you wanted to bring up that you didn't get a chance to?
Oh, no, not really. There's just not a lot to this episode.
Well, everybody, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it. That was Night of the Ninja, and I would rather be reading Night of a Million Zillion Ninjas, but that's just me. And we will be with you again next week for another one, and the next episode is Cat Scratch Fever. I don't remember that one at all, right off the top of my head.
That's a really awful one that opens.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's the one that opens with Selena Kyle not being allowed to wear her costume, and it's awful.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. It's been a while.
It's not quite as bad as Tiger, but Catwoman just does not have very many good episodes in this series, if at all.
This show, when she is the main either antagonist or just supporting character, they don't know what to do with her in this show.
Yeah. Batgirl Returns, I think, is her only okay episode, but everything else is just kind of awful.
Yeah, and you had to have Batgirl in that episode. I mean, like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this and argued about it before. She has some okay stuff in other episodes that aren't primarily about her.
Yeah, I mean,
I like what she has to do and Almost Got Him, but you hate the Batman-Catwoman relationship as a romantic thing in general, so you probably don't like that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is just that this series doesn't really know what they want to do with Catwoman at all, and she's a different character scene to scene. So even if I'm just taking the relationship on the terms of this series, I don't know what Bruce Wayne sees in her.
But that's a problem a lot, right?
Yes.
Like, I often don't exactly know that, except for just kind of the generic walk on the wild side. He plays in the darkness enough that that it's just dangerous and appeals to him. But again, in kind of a generic way. You need that character to specifically be because she's the only one much of the time, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
As far as like a dark, scary chick that Batman's wants to be with. Although I suppose Talia's that way too, but that's a very different ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Talia is almost more of a relationship because there are instances where Bruce has an option to be with her and he completely takes it no matter what. When you get to I think it's Son of the Demon, the first of the Demon trilogy, she gets pregnant and Bruce immediately decides he's going to give up being Batman and be with her.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's I don't know. That's kind of walking on the dark side too, because you know that whole she's in an institution of people that murder for a living. Like that's what they do.
That's true. Although he doesn't see her that way. He doesn't see her as a danger. He just sees her as someone he can save. He doesn't see Catwoman that way.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Talia,
yeah, you're right. You're right. He never. I mean, Catwoman always makes it really clear that she's the one who wears the pants in that relationship,
exactly.
right? Like,
and Talia's not that way. Talia, on numerous occasions, will say that they'll give up everything with the League of Assassins as long as they get married.
Yeah, they would both give up everything and go off, and basically it would be the end of Dark Knight Rises, but with them.
Exactly. It's Romeo and Juliet if it didn't have a tragic ending.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And Catwoman, not so much.
Well, anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you again next week. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Steve.